You know that feeling? That magical jolt you get after that first sip of coffee in the morning? But have you ever stopped to wonder how that delicious cup in your hand went from a humble bean to a global phenomenon? That's right, folks. I'm talking about the coffee giant itself, Starbucks. Today, we're diving deep into the surprising story behind the bean. This is how Starbucks became a $100 billion behemoth, and the unlikely hero at the center of it all, Howard Schultz. Howard Schultz. Now, that name might not exactly scream coffee kingpin, but trust me, this Brooklyn boy had a destiny brewed for greatness. Forget fancy villas and silver spoons. His journey started a world away from fancy lattes. Howard grew up in Brooklyn, New York, in a neighborhood where the aroma of brewing coffee wasn't exactly wafting through the air. His family wasn't wealthy. His dad worked tirelessly as a truck driver, and his mom did everything she could to keep a roof over their heads and food on the table. But even as a kid, Howard knew the value of hard work. He hustled to make money, from taking on odd jobs like selling newspapers after school to even landing a scholarship to play basketball in college. But basketball wasn't his only passion. Howard had a spark, a drive to create something more for himself. Sure, instant ramen fueled his late-night study sessions, but deep down, he craved a different kind of life. A life filled with opportunity and maybe, just maybe, a decent cup of coffee. Little did he know, his journey was about to take him from the gritty streets of Brooklyn to the world of gourmet coffee, and he was about to change the way we experience that morning cup of coffee forever. A few years later, Howard's college degree landed him a decent sales job. But let me tell you, he wasn't exactly selling yachts or luxury cars. Nope, Howard was all about coffee machines. Industrial ones, the kind that could churn out gallons of the stuff, and it wasn't exactly glamorous. But hey, it paid the bills. And that's when fate intervened. One day, Howard found himself at a small Seattle coffee roaster called Starbucks. Now, this wasn't your average corner coffee shop. Starbucks was all about quality beans, fresh roasts, and a commitment to the perfect cup. And the second Howard stepped through the door, he was hooked. The smell of freshly roasted beans hit him like a wave, and the warm, inviting atmosphere was a far cry from the sterile office buildings he was used to. And that's when a vision sparked in Howard's mind. So, what was it about this little coffee bean roaster that caught his eye? See, Howard took a business trip to Italy. Now, Italy, the land of pasta and pizza? Yep, turns out Italy had a whole different coffee culture. These weren't just places to grab a quick caffeine fix. Instead, they were social hubs, bustling with conversation and an undeniable charm as people lingered over their espressos, catching up with friends or simply enjoying the atmosphere. And Howard, he was blown away. This wasn't just about coffee anymore. It was about creating an experience, a place where people could connect, relax, and escape the daily grind. Now, could he recreate this magic back in the States? Could he transform Starbucks from a coffee bean roaster into a, well, we don't even have a word for it yet, but Howard was determined to find out. He raced back to the States and pitched his vision to the founders of Starbucks, a coffee house experience inspired by the Italian cafes. But not everyone was on board. The founders loved their high-quality coffee beans, but a full-blown coffee house? It seemed a bit out there. They were comfortable with their niche market and their loyal customers, who appreciated a good cup of coffee without the fuss. So, what did Howard do? Well, he knew this Italian-inspired concept was a winner, but instead of throwing a tantrum and quitting, he decided to take a gamble. He left Starbucks, determined to prove his vision could work, and opened his own coffee house chain called Il Giornale, which translates to the newspaper in Italian. It was a smaller operation, but it captured the essence of his vision. It was a warm, inviting space with delicious coffee and a focus on customer experience. And the people, they loved it. But while Howard was busy building his empire, something interesting was happening back at Starbucks. Well, Starbucks was facing a bit of a crisis. Their sales were dipping, and their just coffee approach wasn't cutting it anymore. In the meantime, Howard's little coffee haven was thriving. News of its success reached the higher-ups at Starbucks, and let's just say, some folks at Starbucks, even if they weren't initially sold on Howard's vision, had their eyes wide open now. Suddenly, Howard's concept didn't seem so crazy anymore, and it started to look like the life raft they desperately needed. A group of investors, including some from Starbucks, approached Howard with a proposition. They wanted to buy Il Giornale, but they didn't just want the coffee shop. They wanted Howard. They wanted his vision, his passion, and the secret sauce that made Il Giornale a success. Now, Howard, he saw an opportunity. He could sell Il Giornale, sure, but more importantly, he could use the deal to inject his vision into the very core of Starbucks. Now, at the moment, it seemed like a gamble, but it was one Howard was willing to take. And guess what? Howard's gamble paid off. Starbucks, fueled by his vision, started rolling out a whole new look, from comfy chairs to warm lighting and baristas who weren't just pouring coffee. They were creating an experience. Suddenly, Starbucks wasn't just a place to grab a quick caffeine fix. It became a place to meet friends, a place where you could catch up on work, or simply escape the hustle and bustle. And let's face it, who doesn't love curling up with a good book and a latte in hand? Starbucks took off in the US, but Howard Schultz had a bigger vision, a global one. He saw the potential for his concept to resonate with coffee lovers worldwide. But going global isn't easy. It takes more than just translating your menu into different languages. Howard understood the importance of cultural adaptation. He knew Starbucks couldn't just be a cookie-cutter American experience plopped down in every country. Take China, for example. The Chinese market craved green tea options alongside their lattes. So, Starbucks offered regional specialties and flavors that catered to local tastes. It wasn't just about drinks, though. In some countries, people lingered over their coffee for hours. So, Starbucks started offering more spacious stores with comfortable seating and creating a true community hub. This combination of Starbucks' focus on localization, its unwavering commitment to quality, and exceptional customer service acted as fuel behind its remarkable global expansion. They weren't just selling coffee, they were selling an experience tailored to each culture, and the results spoke for themselves. From bustling Tokyo streets to cozy Parisian cafes, the Starbucks logo became a familiar sight. And in a short matter of time, they went from a handful of stores in Seattle to a global behemoth with locations in over 80 markets. Starbucks was no longer just a Seattle-based coffee roaster. It was morphing into a global giant, with lines snaked around the block. And that signature green mermaid logo became a symbol of connection and community. But with success comes challenges. As Starbucks expanded across the globe, more critics started to take notice. Some folks accused them of squeezing out smaller coffee shops, of treating their employees poorly, and of charging an arm and a leg for a fancy latte, while others worried about the environmental impact of all those single-use cups. It was a wake-up call for Howard and the Starbucks team. They had to address these concerns or risk losing the very thing that made them special, their loyal customer base. Howard pushed for sustainable practices throughout the supply chain, from bean cultivation to cup recycling. They also launched initiatives to improve working conditions for their baristas and started offering their workers health benefits and educational opportunities. This wasn't just good for the planet, it was good for business. Consumers, especially younger generations, were increasingly concerned about sustainability, and Starbucks understood that and made it a core value. It wasn't perfect, but one thing was clear. Howard and Starbucks were committed to being a force for good, not just a place to get a caffeine fix. They learned from their mistakes as they adapted while taking feedback from local communities and continued to innovate. Starbucks wasn't afraid to shut down underperforming stores and refocus on its core values: quality, connection, and social responsibility. Where are Starbucks and Howard Schultz today? Starbucks remains a coffee powerhouse, boasting over 35,000 stores in a whopping 80 markets worldwide, and their global reach has propelled their net worth to a staggering $100 billion. It's a true testament to the success of Howard Schultz's vision. They continue to innovate, constantly offering new beverages and mobile ordering systems, and even exploring AI-powered barista experiences. As for Howard Schultz, he stepped down as CEO in 2023, but his net worth currently sits around $3.1 billion, a testament to his entrepreneurial spirit. His legacy is undeniable, and his impact on the coffee industry is incredible. But hey, this isn't the end of the story. Starbucks is constantly brewing up new ideas, and we'll be here to keep you caffeinated with the latest updates. Will the future be filled with robot baristas and holographic lattes? Will their next innovation be a game changer? Subscribe to our channel to find out.